Yeah, thanks to the NTGS for putting us on and inviting us to talk. It's always a great opportunity to talk about our project. So thanks again. Um, so just a little bit of fine print. One of the important things about this, there's a lot of information we'll talk about, which is in previous releases. They're all listed here. So if you see something that tweaks your interest, you'll be able to follow up with the release there. So just a bit about Prodigy Gold and who we are and where we are. We are NT focused. Everything we have here is in the Northern Territory. Our head office is in Darwin, so we are based here. Um, Throughout the Tanami, we've got just over 20,000 square kilometres of tenure. So we've got a big base. We're in a great location. It is an underexplored gold province of Australia. You've got the Tanami operations for Newmont. It's a 10 to 20 million ounce endowed deposit. There's got to be more 1 million ounce deposits in that region. So and there's not when you actually look at what's been discovered to date. So the opportunities for discovery are there, and there's a lot of opportunities. For us, we have two main active areas in the region. One is the Tanami North, which includes Hyperion, which we're talking about today in Tregony, and then we've got Tanami West, which has the Twin Bonanza, which was Old Pirate Mine, and the Buccaneer. We have joint ventures with some of the Australia's largest companies, like two joint ventures with Newmont around their Cali operations. And we also have some joint ventures with IGO down at Lake Mackay as well. So we do have a large resource inventory, which obviously Hyperion is part of. Um, we have, like I said, the Tanami North, which is shown in green. It's north of Groundrush. The Tanami joint venture, which is Northern Star and Tanami Gold. Um, and then we also have the Twin Bonanza, which is in Tanami West. So Tanami North's just under 500,000 ounces, and just Twin Bonanza's the same, about 474,000 ounces in that project. It's all up just under 1 million ounces, which is important. I did have the gold price was over $5,000. It has come back a little bit today, but it's still very close to $5,000 an ounce. Very different to when I started my career when it was about $400 an ounce. So we are in a very different world when it comes to gold, and we have a great resource base for us to develop moving forward. Also, just at the end of last year, we've just pegged a new mineral lease around Hyperion, which highlights the importance that we see for this deposit for our future development in the region. So that's only just started that process, and we'll work through that over the next few years to get that granted. Hyperion mineral resource itself, we just finished an update only a few weeks ago. From a resource update we did in the middle of last year. So it's now about 435,000 ounces of indicated and inferred material. So based on the one we did only a few months previous, there's about 12% more tonnes, 5% less grade for 7% more ounces. So it was a good result from some drilling that we completed. We did also get to adjust the cutoff a little bit with some metallurgical test work that we've completed, and obviously a higher gold price, which allows us to use a lower cutoff. Everything at Hyperion has been cut to a depth of 180 meters below surface. So some of the drilling we did is deep and is actually targeting right on that, which we'll talk about later. But it's a great base for us to develop our projects in the Tanami. And I would say Hyperion at the moment is our most important resource, but it requires obviously a lot of future work. This is a grade tonnage curve of the results, and it shows there is a high grade base within, and there's high grade potential within Hyperion. And we've seen that with some of the drill results that we've seen over the last 12 months. So if you use a 1.2 gram lower cut, it's a 5 million tonnes at 2 grams. So it's a good resource base for us to continue to work and develop. And it's all supported by deeper drilling, and we think it'll be supported by additional deeper drilling. So out of all the drilling, and I'm going to talk about this one hole a lot because it's really driving what we're trying to achieve this year, and that's around Hyperion hole 4 that we drilled last year, which did have a intercept of 10 meters at 15.9 grams, which is a great result for us. And on that, and driving what we're trying to do, is we've already submitted our application. We're pretty keen. We got our application in for the round 18 grants that just opened up a few weeks ago. So, and we'll talk about the reasoning why we're trying to achieve that. We've been very, very active looking at the metallurgy of the deposit. We've 2 rounds of metallurgical test work. We completed one on the Seuss lodes last year, and we've got the preliminary results for some test work into the Hyperion and Tethys lodes. What we saw with the results last year is oxide transitional and fresh material in Seuss had really high recoveries in that mid to high 90s, which is a great result. High gravity, 22 to 40% recoverable gold in gravity. So the results for that were very, very positive for us and allow us to look at the future extraction possibilities for the deposit. The preliminary work we've received, which was in different lodes, so far, once again, the oxide and transitional material recovered well. We have seen lower recoveries in the fresh material. The test results are only preliminary in nature. We've got further test work to complete to look at whether we can improve those. So that work is ongoing. Gravity gold was a little bit less coming out of the material as well, but it gives us a great base to understand what this is going to look like as a future mine. The work will continue. And one of the other important aspects of it is it showed that this material is recoverable using a standard CIL processing methodology. So what it shows is, the existing mines and the how everything's been mined in the Tanami in the past would work on this deposit as well. And we think that's a very important thing to understand, particularly while we're looking to develop the mine and peg the mineral lease there. It's all supported by the work that we've done. So just to look at the geology and the geological setting for where we are just north of the ground rust deposit at Hyperion. The Tanami, it's part of the Tanami North project as a whole in a regional sense, as part of the Tanami group of the basalts and metasediments. There's been at least 3 phases of deformation. The first 2 were the gold creating mineral deformation phases of Tanami orogeny and the Stafford event, and then a later Alice Springs orogeny as well. Hyperion itself, it's part of the deposit, sits in the Mount Charles formation, which is very, very similar to what hosts the deposits down in the central Tanami mine to our south. So Hyperion itself sits in basalts and dolerites. They're all fine grade and fine grained sediments, sorry. And what we've actually seen, and most of the drilling we've done around Hyperion is RC, it's a challenge when it comes to trying to understand lithological units in the region as well. So it certainly justifies the need to do future more diamond drilling in the area to help us try and understand that geology. So at Hyperion itself, as part of the resource development that we've done, there is actually 4 separate lodes as we've defined them in our wireframing. And we've focused on drilling 3 of those, which is the Hyperion lodes, the Tethys and Seuss. Hyperion South, which as you can see on the map is it's a little bit small, but it's the mauve area sitting to the south, obviously. We haven't done much drilling into that one in the last couple of years. The drilling we have done, particularly in 2024, you can see this is obviously picking the highlights of some of the drilling into Hyperion itself. And all of these intercepts that you can see are, higher than the average resource grade. So that's positive. And they've got certainly got some good widths to them as well, which require additional follow-up. So great results, helped with our resource model. And once again, you can see the second at Tethys, the 10 metres at 15.9 grams. It really is a bit of a highlight for us and warranting a lot more further work. So we can focus on this hole. You can see the RC chips just to the side. It does highlight just the challenge that comes with trying to log and get good detail out of our RC chips. The result itself, one of the things that particularly got us excited about this result is the fact there's not any of those really high grade outliers that force the grade up that you see in some of the intercepts. The highest grade we have for a 15, nearly 16 gram intercept, our highest grade is 25 grams. So it's a good consistent grade through the zone. And we see that even with some of the older drilling there as well into this area of the deposit. Um, But the issue with that hole is when you look at it in cross section, it sits right on that 180 meters. It's about 175 meters below surface, so it's right on that limits of what we're classifying as our resource at the moment. So it was originally drilled this hole to try and test that high grade zone. We obviously got two older holes that were drilled in 2016, 2017, 2018 around that time, and then this hole was designed to try and test that high grade zone, and which was successful. Um, so this one here, we want to try and look at what we can do with co-funding to try and test this at depth using diamond drilling. So this is the historic hole. This one was drilled in 2018. We do have the core still, so we've had the ability to go back and re-look at the core. What was interesting is you can see the it's a little bit small, but we can see the sericite alteration. Unfortunately, the logging called it a quartz vein back in the days, and what we've seen and we're looking at it is definitely a breccia, fault breccia, which is interesting for us because we need to do additional drilling to see how that fault breccia relates, at depth. So one of the issues we also had when we looked at the core is it's quite fractured in the mineralised zone. So, using things like wireline, downhole wireline surveys will definitely help us try and understand what are the structural controls of the mineralisation at depth. But, sorry, just one of the other notes you can see in this older hole, it's similar to our RC. You don't get those high grade outliers to force the grade into a good intercept. We're getting good, consistent grades through the zone. Now, we're very lucky. This was originally, I think, Osso Gold, who became, I think they were Newmont back in those days. I started my career with Otter. Newmont did some work out there, and they did some petrology on the RAB drilling. So back in 2003, we've managed to source those reports, and that's been very helpful in us trying to understand. They're looking at two styles of quartz veining, meso and mesothermal. And sorry, there's too much. Sorry, I'll go back. There's two rock types. What they've seen, metamorphosed basalts and dolerites, and that's what we're seeing in the RC chip, RAB chip logging. Is there's a hard to distinguish between the two, and there's obviously granites in the area as well. Two styles of quartz veining, mesothermal and epithermal, which is interesting for us, and this was what was discovered in the original petrology. I did further work in 2004. It was the same petrologist on one of the diamond holes there, and it really supported that two styles of mineralizing events with the epithermal and mesothermal. And then obviously highlighting the epithermal could be remobilized, the original gold setting event. So having that work as a base for us has helped us try and increase our understanding. And then thanks to our joint venture partners, Newmont, they put us in contact with the original petrologist, and we sent some more samples from our good hole, hole 4 last year. We sent that for analysis, and it once again supported the two phases of mineralization. But I think what it did, it sort of generated a lot more questions for us to try and answer with further work. So I think that's where it really supports us, trying to look at funding to try and help us understand. But it's also the peak gold within the green schist facies, which came out in the last report came through. But I think the petrologist was pretty excited to be able to look at some new drilling nearly 20 years or more than 20 years after he originally looked at this. So it was great for us to have the opportunity to talk to somebody that's been involved with the project for as long as he has. So as we highlighted through, we're looking at considering two gold forming events for the deposit. Um, so the mesothermal and epithermal, we're looking at the relationship between those, what's driving the good grades, lots of really good questions. So all the latest stuff that we did is certainly supporting the findings from back in 2004. But we need to continue and try and understand how that works, because we need to look at what is driving that good high grade with good thicknesses in Hyperion at depth. So, like I said before, majority of the drilling that's been done in Hyperion has been is RC in nature. There's very few diamond holes. What we have, we've been able to go back and have a look at. And you can see, well, so diamond drilling is not necessarily going to be the answer to everything. As you can see by the two core trays, the upper core tray is the mineralized zone. You can see the sericite alteration and the quartz flooding through the area, but it's also quite fractured. So trying to understand the orientation of veining and structures in there is quite challenging. So the utilization of downhole wireline type surveys would certainly help us with our understanding for the deposit. So just in summary, Hyperion is definitely an important deposit for us. It's been our focus for the last few years, and it will continue to be our focus as we move forward. Drilling in the last 2 years has really shown there are high grade zones in Tethys, Hyperion, and Zeus. And we do need to understand, we need to increase our understanding of the deposit to help us better target deeper drilling in the future. So we're very supportive, and I have to highlight just how important the co-funding grants are to companies like Prodigy. We are a junior explorer, so this co-funding, and we've had programs in before, as you saw, the ground gravity, all of that sort of work is very, very important for us to help with our exploration in the Tanami. So we're very thankful for the information that we can gather by using that. So other things that we can use the diamond drilling for, which would be good, understanding structural controls, as I said, more petrology, but also fluid inclusion. There has been a lot of good work in the Tanami and understanding all the different deposits from the granites, Oberon, and Central. So if we can increase our understanding and see how they relate to those deposits, it will help us with our future exploration in the Tanami region as well. So Gary, myself, Yuta, we're all around. If you want questions, Yuta loves the geology questions. So if anyone who knows her, feel free to ask her. But yeah, if anyone wants to know any more, feel free to reach out, and yeah, happy to talk. Thank you.